Stocks leap on the back of a strong rally in the US on Friday. Realty, financials and autos lead the charge while FMCG and utilities lag. Britannia pips estimates on profit margins and guides for a steady trend in FY24 with Varun Berry staying on at the helm to steer the biscuit maker. For Marico, it's about strong margin expansion ahead and that sparks a rally in the stock. Coal India slips on a big jump in provision for wage revision and little clarity on revision of the fuel supply agreement, while the US FDA asked Sun Pharma to engage an independent reviewer for its Mohali unit, and that's a worrying signal. Aditya Birla Fashion laps up TCNS Clothing in a 2,900 crore deal involving a payout for 51% stake and a consequent merger, but the deal valuation is far lower than expectations, leading to a slide in the TCNS stock. Good afternoon. Welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Sonia Shenoy, and at this point in time, the bulls have definitely tightened their hold over the market. The Nifty is up almost 200 points, and not once in the trading session has there been any profit taking. So that's the best part about today's trade. In fact, from the start of trade, we had plenty of positive cues, and the market has latched onto that, whether it's strong global cues, FII buying, good numbers coming in from the likes of Paytm, Britannia, etc. And the street has built on to its gains through the course of the day. A lot of stocks in focus as well. But let me tell you the leaders of the market today. It's definitely the rate-sensitive stocks. So whether it's auto stocks like Tata Motors that are topping the charts this afternoon, up about 5%, banking names like IndusInd Bank that are up 4.5%, as well as some of the real estate names like Macrotech developers. So perhaps the street believes that the worst of the rate tightening cycle is behind them, and now we're going to enter into a phase where rate cuts could start, and hence a lot of these rate-sensitive names are the top gainers in trade this afternoon. But let's see. There's plenty, happening in terms of individual stocks as well. This is an earnings-heavy week, so you have lots of big names coming out with numbers this week, whether it's Lupin, Dr. Reddy's, Eicher Motors, Tata Motors. All these companies will be coming out with their earnings through the course of the week. So the market will definitely try to latch on to that. But let's start with some exclusive information that we're getting for you. It's bad news coming in for importers. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the CBIC has directed the Department of Revenue Intelligence officials to start adjudicating a show-cause notice issued to importers for evading integrated GST. Tim C gets you all the details. Tim C, over to you.
Well, it was a recent Supreme Court judgment which was issued on 28th April. And based on that, DRI, that is Directorate of Revenue Intelligence under CBIC, has got immunity to start adjudicating the show-cause notices on import IGST evasion. Now, what is this exactly? Well, CBIC has issued orders that based on 28th April Supreme Court verdict, where DRI said that any imports which are evading duties are meant only for exports, and a lot of companies were importing under various rules and regulations which are quite old. But DRI contested that, and they got a waiver and they got a decision in their favor. Now, which are the prominent importers who will be actually facing the heat now? Because they've already been served show-cause notices in the past. Well, there are various directorates under DRI, and alone Kolkata Directorate, they are estimating to adjudicate cases worth 2,165 crore rupees worth. So now let's see how pan-India this entire drive moves, because while importing, if you were evading duties, you were not paying duties, and importers were saying that we are trying to export these goods, but they were not actually doing that. They were actually selling these goods in domestic market, and that's what CBIC had an issue with, citing various rules. Companies were evading these duties, and now they've got immunity. Let's see, importers such as Balco, Bombay Dyeing, Vedanta, JSW Steel, MRF, etc. have already been served show-cause notices in the past, and they will now get adjudicated under these old cases. Let's see how soon the DRI moves, because this will be a pan-India drive, not just Kolkata-based drive, because Kolkata Directorate in itself did cases worth this much amount, that is 2,165 crore rupees, only on top 5. They have actually served notices to 150 importers. So it's going to be a huge revenue generation drive for the government.
Okay, thanks a lot, Timsy, for that. Huge revenue generation drive for the government. But let's get back to the markets now, which is soaring as we speak. One of the stocks in focus is Equitas Small Finance Bank. We had a chat with the management, P.N. Vasudevan, who's the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer. He was very bullish on their Q4 performance and the growth outlook. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
We believe that this 25 to 30 is something that we should be able to maintain over the next few years. The NIM will be actually a factor of the kind of product mix that we have. So currently we have a product mix which yields the current NIM that we have. The new products that we are looking at, like a personal loan or a credit card, etc. I know they are going to take some time. They are probably the personal loan should get launched in the second half of this year. And so they're not. We are not really introducing too many new products in a short time frame, which may have a lower yield. So I think this 2 to 3 year, 8.5 is a decent number to look at. Last year, FY23, we had guided for a 1.5% credit cost, and we ended up the year at just about that 1.5% level. This year, we predict credit cost, which should be more closer to our pre-COVID level, because our GNPA. Last year we started with a GNPA of over 4% last financial year. But this year we are starting with a GNPA of 2.6%, which is actually the same as our pre-COVID levels. So our GNPA has come down to the pre-COVID level. So we expect the credit cost also to come back to the pre-COVID level. And pre-COVID, our credit cost used to be around that 1.2, 1.25% level.
All right, let's take a short break on that note. Up next, we get you excerpts from the much-awaited Berkshire Hathaway AGM and all the comments that came in from Warren Buffett. More on that after break. Okay, those are two of the best and brightest minds in the business. But moving on, Tata Starbucks has crossed the 1,000 crore rupee sales mark in FY23 and has recorded almost 50% revenue growth for the quarter. My colleague Shilpa caught up with Sushant Dash, the CEO of Tata Starbucks, began by asking him about the quarter gone by and what could be the growth drivers for the coffee business going ahead. Listen in.
In terms of growth drivers, I think we've just continued to do the fundamentals right. I think we have accelerated our store growth.
Right.
We opened the highest number of new stores in a year, which was 71.
Right.
We are now there in 43 cities across, so we are expanded beyond just the metros. That is giving us growth.
So now the next 1,000 crore, or rather the next big leg of growth, where would you see that coming from? And this new national rollout that you're doing, especially with the localization of the menu and the new smaller offerings, etc., where does that fit into this strategy?
So I think the growth will continue to come from all the markets that we are currently in. I think the headroom is huge. If I look at, and I keep saying this, if I look at a tea versus a coffee penetration, coffee is today 1/10 of tea. So in terms, and we have a young population, 24 years average age, the economy is growing. So as the economy grows, the younger generation comes in, we will have headroom. So growth will come from all the markets we currently are, and we will continue to expand to newer markets.
Right.
So it will come from both new catchments and our existing catchments.
Right.
In terms of, as you rightly said, the new launch, I think more than what we are launching, while we are doing a lot of stuff, we are launching a completely revamped menu. And the menu consists now of things like bite-sized, shareable, freshly assembled. We are launching a new range of Indian beverages, so as to say, with the Indian consumer is more familiar with, which is like masala chai, elaichi chai, filter coffee, milkshakes. We are launching a new size, which is a smaller size. because the Indian consumer, in terms of a share of stomach at home or even outside, we are not used to drinking large quantities of liquid, right? We are used to smaller cups. So that is what it is about. So if you look at the total package, why are we doing it? We are doing this because we want, as we expand and we go to new consumers, when they come into Starbucks, we want them to find familiar things. Things that they have grown up with, things that they're used to, and then stay on for what we are known for, which is our coffee, our connection. So that is why the logic behind this launch. The other thing is, in terms of the growth avenue, we are creating new occasions.
Right. And with this next leg of growth or the expansion also, I want to understand with respect to formats also, are you looking at newer formats? I think you launched 2 24/7 stores in India most recently. Will we see more of that also coming in? What's the idea with respect to a store expansion?
So we keep innovating. We opened our first reserve last year. We introduced drive-ins. In terms of opening 24-hour store, it depends on regulation.
All right. And what about from a number of stores? I think you are now at about 333 stores.
We are 341.
Okay. Oh, okay. Since the last reported, we've seen more stores. Do you have a number for this fiscal?
No, I think we will continue to open as the requirement is.
Okay.
Wherever there is consumer demand,
okay,
and we think we can open it in a brand appropriate manner, find the right kind of real estate, we will go.
All right. And I have to ask you about competition. Now, apart from Starbucks in a similar format, we've seen Pret a Manger's also come in, and Reliance has aggressive growth plans for that. There's also Tim Hortons that is also looking at an expansion. How do you see the competitive landscape? All of these come under the similar segment, and a lot of localized Indian players also, like your Third Wave, etc., have also been expanding aggressively. So how do you view the competitive landscape? Is that something you're watching keenly?
So, two things. I think competition is good. As I said, there is a lot of headroom. It will grow the category. More people will get familiar with it. So we welcome that. In terms of, as far as we are concerned, we think we need to do what is right for the consumer. As long as we stick to that, as long as we continue to innovate, as long as we continue to understand our consumer and what our consumer requires and cater to that, and do it in a manner that is brand appropriate and what Starbucks stands for, I think we have enough consumers.
Okay, that's a hot brew for you. Let's slip into a short break. On the other side of the break, lots more updates on the markets and lots of other news coming up. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back. You're still watching Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Let's get you the latest on the situation in Manipur now. The state is on the edge after clashes have broken out between the dominant Metis and the tribal communities on Wednesday after the government decided to include the Metis in the scheduled tribes list. The army and the Assam Rifles have been carrying out relief operations in the state. They have rescued over 23,000 civilians until now. And luckily, there have been no incidences of violence detected since the rescue operations began. Subsequently, curfew timings too have been shortened. The army has also ramped up surveillance and especially aerial surveillance in the state to avoid unwanted incidents. In some tragic news coming in from the south, at least 22 people have been killed in Kerala's Malappuram after a double-decker houseboat capsized last evening. The boat was plying beyond the officially permitted time of 5 p.m. According to the district superintendent, the cause of the incident is due to overcrowding. Survivors of the tragedy have also added that many passengers were not wearing life jackets. As rescue operations are still on, the death toll is expected to rise further. Well, in some more unfortunate news, 3 civilians, including 2 women, lost their lives after an Indian Air Force MiG-21 crashed in Rajasthan's Hanuman Nagar. One other person was also injured. According to the IAF, the pilot experienced an onboard emergency during a routine training mission and ejected from the aircraft. The aircraft then crashed into a house, which caused the death of the 3 civilians. A court of inquiry has been constituted to determine the cause of the crash. All right, time for some happy news now and a quick sports roundup. Arsenal beat Newcastle by 2 goals in the English Premier League to keep their title hopes alive. As things stand, the Gunners are just a point shy of the leaders Man City, who also have a game in hand at the moment. Newcastle put up a tough fight but were out-muscled by the Arsenal side that grew in confidence through the game. In the other game last night, Man U continued their tumultuous season with a 1-0 defeat to West Ham. A goalkeeping mistake by David De Gea early in the game proved to be too much for United to overcome despite multiple efforts on goal. And on to Formula One, Max Verstappen won the Miami Grand Prix to extend his lead at the top of the F1 World Drivers' Championship. Teammate Sergio Perez, who qualified in pole position, was runner-up, while Fernando Alonso finished third for his 4th podium finish of the season. Okay, that is all the updates as far as sports and national news is concerned. But there's some news coming in on Exide, and that's an important battery company that has announced its numbers. It's a paltry 4% top-line growth that we're seeing on Exide. So, that's something that will not perhaps go too well with the street. The profits before exceptional item and tax has come in at 281 crores, so barely a growth there as well. And that's why you can see a bit of a disappointment in the stock at the moment. EBITDA growth is also in low single digits, so that's something that's causing a bit of profit taking on the stock at the moment. We'll try and get you more details. No improvement in margins despite lower raw material costs, and that's a bit of a concern. So margins are absolutely flat on a year-on-year basis. But otherwise, for the market, it is all guns blazing at the moment. The bulls are not giving up at all. The Nifty is now up over 200 points, sensex up over 760 points, and all your big gainers include rate sensitives like real estate, autos, as well as banks. Those are the key leaders of the market and trade at the moment. The market breadth also very, very strong. So with that, we will wrap up with this edition of Business Lunch. Thanks a lot for watching. Midcap Radar up next.